Hi everyone, my name is San and I'm going to be giving you a summary today of the Collaboration and Cultural Intelligence session as part of the Confidence Development Programme here at Leeds Beckett University. So you may have already seen my colleague Annie and I in some of these sessions. Together we are creating the recorded sessions for you to catch up on any of the topics you may have missed or simply need to revisit. So we'll just start the session now then. So first of all, we'll go through the session objectives. We will look at the concepts where we undertook some of the teamwork and collaboration activities in the live sessions. We'll also do an introduction to social and cultural intelligence. We'll also talk about considering the value of diversity of thought and difference. We will also talk about how we can manage our personal biases. And finally, we'll talk about Lencioni's teamwork model and also the concept of artificial harmony. I'd also just like to remind everyone that one size does not fit all. There may be some theories or ideas shared that you don't agree with, or it just doesn't work for you. That's completely fine. But please bear in mind that it might work or better suit someone else. And we hope that there is something for everyone in this session. So we are focusing on social and cultural intelligence today. And we will just go through some of the key terms that you might see throughout the session. We will talk about intellectual intelligence, where you might know it as IQ. It is a measure of cognitive capacities, or we call processing information. Basically, this involves the capacity to think correctly, like distinguishing different phrases. Cultural intelligence, also known as S/CQ, refers to the ability to get by with other people in a particular context, like knowing when to say things or knowing when to stay silent. Emotional intelligence, which is known as EQ, deals with understanding one's own and others' feeling, as well as controlling them, such as limiting one's anger in a tense situation. Behind our behavior, team and otherwise, are all these elements that influence how we act. So our behavior might be influenced by our emotions, whether if you're angry or if you're sad or how we feel at that time. Our attitude, the same thing, sometimes we have the environment that affects our attitude and how we feel at that time. Our beliefs, our values of how, our upbringing, our past experiences, the assumptions, if you have assumed something of that someone, or if you've assumed something of that particular situation, our thoughts, sometimes we might assume that certain situations are less stressful, but then again, for the other person, it might be more stressful to them than it would be more stressful to us. Our behavior is also influenced by the worldview of how we see the world, how we perceive certain issues, be it political, human rights. Cultural norms, definitely our cultural upbringing does affect our behavior and our attitude towards things. Perceptions, like I said earlier, it's more about, what might be stressful to you might not be stressful to me. And yes, when we've seen this behavioral iceberg, when we're looking at growth mindset, also known as thought loop, there are lots of tools that you can find, that you can use to find more about your own style of working within a team, or just your own style of your personality. And that is the MBTI, which is also known as the Myers-Briggs type indicator, or some people call it the 16 personalities. And we've looked at this in the previous sessions. And we also talked about the Merrill-Wilson communication styles. We also looked at the Strengths Finder and the Thomas Kilmann conflict model. But at the end of the day, we need to all understand is we all see the world through our lens, our individual lens. As a result, we can see the same thing in different ways, and clearly shown by the Marilyn Monroe and Einstein picture here. Sometimes you see Marilyn Monroe, sometimes you see Einstein. At the end of the day, it just depends on where we stand. We talked about this idea of our personal lenses when we looked at the decision making. But it is really important in collaboration as well, because we need to understand people's backgrounds and cultures that have shaped their perspectives and how they see the world. It is very rare that a person has a full understanding of the full picture of a certain issue, but it is also equally rare that there is a single right solution to a problem. A 360-degree understanding of an issue is only achieved by welcoming different views from, other people, from people of different lived experiences and different cultural upbringing. And innovation and creative solutions are created through pooling of new, rounded ideas and perspectives. And that is why you see in workplaces, or even, in our courses, we have group work where we're encouraged to have, bring all of our different lived experiences in so that we can find a solution to a problem. And that happens a lot with workplaces as well. For example, if you enter a consumer world or you enter a marketing world where you have to, sell a particular product, and everyone comes in and brainstorms how to sell a particular product and how to appeal to certain demographics and stuff. And that can only be done and that can only be achieved by welcoming different views from people with different lived experiences, because you never know, you might have not thought about certain things that other people have. So it's really good that we pull all these different views together. So now we will look at some company research. So aside from the ethical or moral prerogative to act in terms of diversity, some businesses need a bit more of a nudge. And these are some of the research that backs up the need to do more in the area of diversity in the workplace. And as I said earlier, it's also about, getting lived experiences when you're trying to market certain things as well. So McKinsey & Company stated that gender diverse companies are 15% more likely to outperform others, and ethically diverse companies are 35% more likely to outperform others. And these leads to better financial performance. Deloitte's research with 1,550 employees found a link between engagement and diversity, which means when there is a higher diverse, a more diverse workforce, they found that, employees are more likely to engage, and that leads to higher employee engagement. Glassdoor's research showed that 67% of job seekers said that a diverse workforce is important when they are considering job offers. And this means that, they want to recruit and retain the best. And this is really important as well, because when I, for example, if I apply for a job, I like to know the people I work with, because I like to know that, I'm entering a team with very diverse opinions and very diverse, views, because that's the way we solve problem. And that comes perfectly into the next research, where Harvard Business Review says diverse teams outperform individual decision makers up to 87% of the time, because it leads to quicker and better decisions. When we all have differing point of views and, and different lived experiences, we think of things that others might not have thought of. So it's really important to have those kind of points of mindset, of, perspectives within a team when you're working together, because then you lead to more creative solutions as well, things that you might not have thought of. So that's why it leads to better decisions. And finally, Josh Bersin's research showed that inclusive companies are 1.7 times more likely to be innovation leaders in their market, and this leads to higher innovation. And this comes, as I said earlier, it's about different lived experiences, finding out different perspectives, things that other people might not have thought of, and that leads to better innovation. You might create something that other people might not have thought about. So now we will go into unconscious bias. Theo Combrunol stated that the reflex brings stereotypes, even in people who consider non-discrimination as one of their main values and who sincerely and consciously practice this belief. So regardless how fair-minded we believe ourselves to be, we all make snap judgments, influenced by associations we hold. We make decisions faster than we can comprehend, as quickly as 30 milliseconds. Our brain is constantly receiving and processing information, Our unconscious brain receives about 11 million bits of information per minute, but our conscious brain can only process 40 bits. And this is by Timothy Wilson, Strangers to Ourselves. Indeed, Nobel Eric Kandel, neuroscientist at Columbia University, who received a Nobel Prize for his work on memory, believes up to 90% of our brain works unconsciously. Our brain makes snap judgments about people and or the situation based upon things such as our background, culture, experiences, and exposure to media. These associations that we hold, despite sometimes being outside our conscious awareness, can have a significant influence on our attitudes and beliefs, and also our behavior. This means that we automatically respond to others, for example, men and women, people from different racial or ethnic groups, in different ways. These associations are difficult to override, regardless whether we recognize them to be wrong, because they are deeply ingrained into our thinking and in our emotions. Unconscious bias is not always bad. The fact is, we use all kinds of mental shortcuts countless times every day. It's just sometimes our brain goes into autopilot mode. But by becoming aware of our unconscious bias, bringing them to conscious field, then we can start to break the cycle if necessary. But it isn't just about diversity. We also need to consider inclusion. It's about getting in and getting on. And as you can see, in this diversity versus inclusion cartoon here, the person says, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb the tree. And as you can see, there is a bird, there is a primate, there is a penguin, there is an elephant, and there's a fish, a seal, and a dog. And you can see that every animal over here has different capabilities. Some of these animals may not be able to climb the tree, but the assignment is to climb that tree. And some of them may not be able to have the capacity to climb the tree like a fish. How would a fish climb a tree? And that's why it's really important, just by having a diverse workforce, for example, having a gender diverse or a racially diverse workforce, would not constitute including them in the workplace. You need to make sure that we need to make sure that people are included, even in terms of the practice as well. And this is where we can ask ourselves, what can I personally do to become more aware of my biases and lessen them? And you can see there are some ways here. And the first thing is to monitor yourself, accept that everyone has unconscious bias. We all do. Develop your awareness of what they are and when they might arise. And then you can rethink or start to challenge immediate assumptions. So when you suddenly hear, certain things and you think, actually, why did I just think of that? Why did I assume that person is of a certain, behavior? Then that's when you say it's pretty much like check yourself. So the second one is question stereotype. Mentally flip whoever you're dealing with for someone else to test yourself. So if you're dealing with someone and you say, oh, I can't deal with this person, and if the person's coming off as arrogant, ask yourself how you'd feel about that situation if it was happening with a man. Would you still consider them as arrogant? Would you be like, okay, that's okay? And a lot of women do experience this as well. Sometimes when women are more, they want to express their opinions more, so they want to stand their foot on the ground. People might consider them hostile because, people stereotype women as this like nurturing, soft personalities. But when we aren't like that, and when we want our voices to be heard, people say, oh, that's a bit too much, you're being hostile. But sometimes people don't assume that with other genders. And also reconsider your decisions. Remind yourself of the need to be fair and objective at all times. Ask yourself, what is driving your decision or point of view? Have you got hard data? Ask someone with a different outlook for their opinion. If you said, okay, I don't think the situation I was, don't think the assumption I've had was appropriate, actually, I'm going to check with my friend. And if they're willing to help you with it, that's okay. If they're not willing to help you with it, that's okay as well. Because remember, people of color or people of other genders are not obligated to help us or educate us. What is important that is, we've got Google, we've got the World Wide Web, everyone has a phone, everyone has a smartphone or a laptop or the means to get to an internet. You can educate ourselves online. If you're not comfortable talking to someone else, or if you're not, if the person who you want to talk to is not comfortable talking about it, you can always go online and learn about it there. Challenge others. Notice when other people's biases are likely to be influencing decision making and choices, and challenge stereotypes in others. Widen your circle. Try to be friendlier with people you feel awkward around or don't know as well. Increase your exposures to outgroup and see people as individuals. And this is really important as well. When you're coming to university, the point is to have a diverse group of friends. Because when you stick with people you already know, the groups of people you already know, you don't get the holistic view of the student experience. And it's really important to have friends or, acquaintances of different cultures and different views, different, lived experiences, because it's really important to get that, because that will benefit you with your whole life and how you treat others and how you speak to others and how you get friends and work with others eventually. And finally, consider your language. Think before you speak, and that is something that I tell everyone. Think before you speak. If you want to say something, for example, if you're asking someone where are they from, and the person says, actually, I'm from Sheffield, but you immediately think that is not an answer I would like to accept. Then you ask them, where are you really from? Did you really need to ask that second question? The point is, take the first answer. If they say they're from Sheffield, accept that they're from Sheffield. Or if they say they're from somewhere else, accept it. So it is really important, to ask ourselves what we can personally do to become more aware of our biases and lessen them. The point of looking at these biases is not to suggest that there is no fault elsewhere. Institutional prejudice is a big problem. It is to improve our own team working and collaboration abilities, and to help us realize that even in a small, everyday way, everyone can make a difference. At the end of the day, small actions, lots of people, does equal to big change. And as we're going to look at now the Lencioni's model for high-performing teams, we're going to look at this triangle. As with all models, there are some flaws. Some people critique that the Lencioni model as teamwork can't be based on a structure, but needs to be based on doing real activities or real work together. Additionally, some people argue that there isn't enough evidence surrounding this model of trust, healthy conflict, commitment, accountability, and results. But having that said, it is a helpful starting point when we're thinking about what makes a good team and, what promotes strong collaboration. So we're going to look at artificial harmony, healthy conflict and destructive mean-spirited conflict. Teams that engage in healthy conflict have lively, interesting meetings. They extract and exploit ideas of all team members. They solve real problems quickly. They minimize politics, politics within the team. And they put critical topics on the table for discussion. The teams that fear conflict have boring meetings. They create environments where back-channel politics and personal attacks thrive, which means people start talking about each other behind each other's back, and you don't want that in a healthy team. They ignore controversial topics that are critical to the team's success. They fail to tap into all of people's opinions and perspectives of the team members. And like I said in the earlier slides, having a diverse lived experience and having diverse perspectives and opinions is really healthy to promote strong collaboration within the team. Teams that also fear conflict also waste time and energy with posturing and interpersonal risk management, which means it's just all about protecting yourself, and you're not about the team. People don't think about the benefits of the whole team; they just think about themselves. And then we talk about a trusting team. A trusting team admits its weaknesses and its mistakes. Team members are very comfortable to ask for help. People accept questions and input about the areas of responsibilities. So if they don't understand something, they ask and they clarify. And that's really important as well when you're working with a team. Team members give one another the benefit of the doubt before arriving at a negative conclusion. And this is really important for a trusting team. Team members also take risks in offering feedback and assistance. So this is, for example, if someone says, actually, do you need help with this? I've noticed that you're struggling a little bit. And the other person's like, actually, yes, I am struggling. I would really appreciate some help. And that's a really healthy working environment. And a trusting team also appreciates and taps into one another's skills and experiences. For example, if one of the team members is really good at Photoshop or really good at, designing images and graphics, and you actually need someone to do that. So instead of giving it to someone else who doesn't know anything about it, you could give it to them and ask them if this is something that they would like to do. And if it makes them happy, give them the particular responsibility. A trusting team also focuses time and energy on important issues and not politics, which means, people don't waste time talking behind each other's back, because you already have a trusting team, you already have an open communication. So if there is anything that you're not happy about, you could give them feedback very openly and very transparently. And also a trusting team offer and accept apologies without hesitation, which means if someone's done something wrong, they feel like, actually, I'm really sorry that I've done that to you. Please accept my apology. And that's, and they've accepted it without hesitation. And also team members in a trusting team look forward to meetings and other opportunities to work as a group. You get excited about working with them, and I think that's really good. A team that commits to action as a team creates clarity around direction and priorities. They align the entire team around common objectives, because the first thing they do is actually, let's look at our objectives for the particular project. Let's, have some objectives that we'll do so that we can keep track of what we're doing throughout the project. Team members also develop an ability to learn from mistakes. What we talked about earlier, having a trusting team is to learn from each other's mistakes. Team members also take advantage of opportunities before competitors, and also moves forward without hesitation, changes direction without hesitation or guilt. So if you need to do something else, you don't think too much about it. You have a team that would support you from the beginning. And then we'll talk about a team that has high standards. So, a team that has high standards would ensure that performers feel the pressure to improve, which means if someone's not, doing very well, but they see everyone else doing well, there is a bit of a pressure to improve themselves and do well. But we discussed in our previous session as well, between confidence as well, of pressure and stress. So there is, team members will, a positive and, a good team and a trusting team would have that established, having, like I said, open lines of communication. If the healthy pressure, turns into unhealthy stress, they would then have the open line of communication to say, actually, I can't do this. So can we please, divide the work, delegate the work a bit more? Yeah. And then we also have establishing respect among team members who are held to the same high standards. At the end of the day, if we all have high standards, automatically, when we see people live up to those standards, we do establish respect to them. We think, actually, yeah, I respect them very much, for doing all the stuff. And that's the same for you as well. People will feel the same way with you. Identify a good, team that is held to our standards, identifies potential problems quickly by questioning one another's approaches without hesitation. And like I said earlier, open lines of communication is really important. And having an honest, open conversation about, people is really important as well. And the team that does that is a team that will go really well. It promotes strong collaboration. A good team also avoids excessive bureaucracy around performance management and corrective action, which means things like, it can always be solved, again, with an open line of, and with an open, honest line of communication. A team that is focused on collective results, which means, work together to get good results, retains achievement-oriented employees, which means people want to work because they want to achieve well, they want to do good. It minimizes individualistic behavior, which means people are not out to think just for themselves. They're thinking for the team. They want the team to do well, not just themselves. A team that is also focused on collective result also enjoys success and suffers failure acutely, in the sense that, you enjoy your success, you enjoy it together. When you fail together, you feel those feelings together. They also benefit from individuals who subjugate their own goals or interests for the good of the team. Like I said earlier, they think, you have team members who prioritize the good of the team, not just themselves. And also a team that focus on collective results avoids distractions. So if there's something that does not benefit the team and the team alone, if they don't do it, they don't take that up unless they feel like there is actually a really valid, good reason that I want to take this up. I'm going to take it up. And that's okay as well. If we think in terms of, professional development and continuing professional personal development, that's okay to take things up as well. But, when you're working in a team, it is really important to consider everyone when you're doing it. So finally, a lot of the material that we've covered today, when it boils down, it is just about being a decent human being. Sometimes it takes confidence to put yourself out there, to question others, and to lean into healthy conflict. So I will send you away with this quote from Nelson Mandela and challenge all of you to have the confidence to be genuine and true to yourself, and to have the strength to allow others to do the same. If you want the cooperation of humans around you, you must make them feel that they are important. And you do that by being genuine and humble. It is also really important to end with a note that we're all human beings. We will all make mistakes at some point. We will all make stereotypes and our assumptions of people at some point. But the really important thing is we're all learning. It is all a learning curve. And it's really important that we understand that. Stop and think before we speak. That's also really important. And be open to learning. Don't be defensive when someone calls you out or someone challenges you about something you've said. Take it as a learning opportunity. Ask why and educate yourself. Like I said, Google is only one tap away. So thank you very much for today, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.